For decades, the United States was a prisoner to the whims of the Middle Eastern oil kings and the unpredictable fluctuations of OPEC. Every president from Richard Nixon to Barack Obama gave the same speech about achieving energy independence while the country imported more oil. The world believed that the era of American energy dominance was over and that the future belonged to the desert nations of the Persian Gulf. To understand the magnitude of this shift, we must go back to the year 1956 and a geologist named Marion King Hubbert. Hubbert proposed a theory known as peak oil, which predicted that U.S. oil production would peak in the 70s and then decline forever. For 40 years, his prediction seemed to be absolutely correct as American wells ran dry and the country became addicted to foreign imports. By 2005, the United States was importing 60% of its oil and facing a future of permanent scarcity and high prices. While the politicians were panicking, a group of stubborn wildcat drillers in Texas and North Dakota were quietly starting a technological revolution. They were working on a method to extract oil and gas that was trapped inside solid rock formations miles beneath the surface of the earth. This process is known as hydraulic fracturing or fracking, and it has fundamentally changed the geopolitical balance of power in the 21st century. Welcome back to Hidden Logic, where today you're analyzing the fracking revolution and how it shattered the absolute control of the oil cartels. To understand this miracle, you must look at the geological reality of the United States, particularly a rock formation known as the Barnett Shale. Geologists always knew that there were massive amounts of energy trapped in this shale rock, but they could not get it out economically. The rock was too tight, meaning it had low permeability, and the oil and gas droplets were locked inside like water in a sealed sponge. The breakthrough came from a man named George Mitchell, who is often called the father of fracking and who refused to accept failure. Mitchell spent 17 years and millions of dollars of his own money trying to crack the code of the Barnett Shale in Texas. Everyone in the industry told him he was wasting his time and that shale gas was a fool's errand and that would never make a profit. But in 1998, his engineers found the perfect combination to existing technologies that changed history forever. They combined horizontal drilling, which allows the drill bit to turn sideways deep underground, with high-pressure hydraulic fracturing. By blasting millions of gallons of water, sand, and chemicals into the rock, they shattered the shale and propped open the tiny cracks. The sand acts as a prop in keeping the fractures open so the gas can escape, creating a massive new mining industry in states like Wisconsin. Suddenly, the gas that had been trapped for millions of years began to float to the surface at rates that nobody thought was possible. This success in Texas sparked a modern-day gold rush that spread to the Bakken Formation in North Dakota and the Marcellus Shale in Pennsylvania. But every revolution needs a salesman, and in this story, that man was Aubrey McClendon, the founder of Chesapeake Energy. McClendon was the self-proclaimed Shale King who aggressively leased millions of acres of land across America, betting everything on the future of fracking. He borrowed billions of dollars to secure drilling rights, creating a land grab frenzy that made ordinary farmers millionaires overnight. Small towns in North Dakota were overrun by workers, creating man camps and a Wild West atmosphere of boom and bust economics. But this revolution required more than just technology and money. It required a specific legal environment that only exists in the United States. Unlike most countries where the government owns the minerals underground, in America, the individual landowner owns the rights to the oil and gas. This created a massive incentive for private citizens to allow drilling on their property, fueling the speed of the revolution across the country. However, there was also a darker side to this rapid expansion, known in political circles as the Halliburton Loophole of 2005. The Energy Policy Act of 2005 exempted fracking operations from key provisions of the Safe Drinking Water Act. This controversial law allowed companies to keep the specific chemical mixture of their fracking fluid a trade secret, protecting them from lawsuits. This legal shield allowed the industry to expand at lightning speed, but it also created a massive backlash from environmental groups and local communities. people began to report tap water that could be lit on fire and earthquakes in regions that had never experienced seismic activity before. In Oklahoma specifically, the disposal of wastewater into deep injection wells caused a massive spike in earthquakes that damaged homes and infrastructure. I want to hit the pause button right here because I need to ask you a critical question about the cost of progress. Do you believe that the strategic benefit of energy independence justifies the local environmental risks like water contamination and induced earthquakes? Or should we prioritize the protection of our local ecosystems even if it means relying on oil from hostile foreign dictatorships? Go to the comments section right now and type the word independence if you think national security is the highest priority, or type the word ecosystem if you believe that the environmental cost of fracking is a price that we simply cannot afford to pay. But I also have a mission for you because the energy transition is moving faster than the mainstream news is willing to report to you. It is your responsibility to stay ahead of the curve, so share this video right now on your private WhatsApp groups or post it on Twitter. Show your friends that the real power in the modern world does not come from the ground, but it comes from the technology used to extract it. By 2014, the sheer volume of American oil flooding the market began to threaten the dominance of the OPEC cartel seriously. The United States had surpassed Russia and Saudi Arabia to become the largest producer of oil and natural gas on the entire planet. The oil cartels realized that their strategy of high prices was backfiring because high prices made expensive fracking projects highly profitable for Americans. On Thanksgiving Day, in 2014, the OPEC ministers met in Vienna for one of the most important meetings in history. The Saudi oil minister Ali Al-Naimi stood up and announced a shock decision that would send the global economy into a tailspin. He declared that Saudi Arabia would not cut production to stabilize the price, but would instead maintain high output to defend its market share. This was a declaration of war against the American fracking industry designed to crash the price of oil below $40 a barrel. They hoped that by making oil cheap they would bankrupt the high-cost American drillers who needed $60 a barrel to break even. This was a high-stakes game of financial chicken that lasted for 2 years and caused massive economic pain in oil-producing regions. Dozens of small American fracking companies went bankrupt, including Aubrey McClendon's Chesapeake Energy, which struggled under massive debt. Thousands of oil workers were laid off in Texas and North Dakota, and drilling rigs were stacked in empty fields gathering rust. But the Saudis underestimated the resilience and the technological innovation of the American engineers, who quickly found ways to lower their costs. The survivors of the crash adopted automation, big data, and longer drilling techniques to produce oil profitable even at $40. They also invented a strategy called DUC Wells, which stands for drilled but uncompleted wells, acting as a storage bank in the ground. They would drill the hole but wait to fracture it until the price of oil recovered, allowing them to turn supply on and off instantly. This flexibility meant that the United States had become the new swing producer of the world, replacing the role that Saudi Arabia once held. Instead of dying, the fracking industry became leaner and more efficient, proving that technology is more powerful than a simple geological monopoly. This victory transformed the United States' global strategy, particularly regarding its relationship with the Middle East and its new rivalry with China. For the first time in history, American presidents could talk about pivoting to Asia without worrying that the lights would go out at home. The U.S. also began to export its surplus energy, turning import terminals like Sabine Pass in Louisiana into massive export facilities. Ships loaded with American liquefied natural gas began sailing to Europe and Asia, challenging the Russian dominance over the European energy market. Poland and Lithuania built new terminals specifically to receive American gas and break their historical dependence on the Russian pipelines. This created a new geopolitical tool for Washington, which could now offer its allies secure energy contracts instead of just military protection. The Fracking Revolution effectively put a ceiling on global oil prices, preventing dictators from holding the global economy hostage ever again. However, this revolution is also creating a new crisis for the global financial system and the stability of the petrodollar pact. If the United States is exporting oil, they are no longer providing the world with the massive supply of dollars that the system requires. This creates a dollar shortage in the developing world and forces other nations to look for alternatives to the American currency for trade. The very technology that saved the American energy industry might be the thing that ultimately undermines the global dominance of the dollar. In 2026, the fracking industry is facing new challenges from the rise of green energy and the global pressure for carbon neutrality. Investors on Wall Street are now demanding capital discipline and environmental responsibility rather than just pure growth and massive production numbers. But as long as the world runs on hydrocarbons, the ability to crack the rock will remain the ultimate advantage in the global struggle for power. Every time you see the price of gas change at the pump, remember the engineers in Texas who are fighting a silent war against the cartels. The Hubbert peak theory was wrong not because the geology changed, but because human ingenuity found a way to rewrite the rules. The Stone Age did not end because we ran out of stones, and the Oil Age will not end because we run out of oil. It will end only when a better technology arrives to replace it, and that race is already happening in the lithium mines of Africa. In our next video, we will analyze the Great Reset and the transition to green energy to see who wins the race for the battery. You will see how the control of lithium and cobalt is becoming the new oil and why the next war will be fought for minerals. Subscribe now and hit the bell because the next chapter will reveal the hidden logic of the post-oil world and the new kings. See you in the next analysis, where we reveal the secret struggle for the future of electricity and the end of the petroleum era.